Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford, the mega fight has been called off. What a roller coaster of a week this has been. On Tuesday, we seem to have confirmation that Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, the fight is finalized. Crawford and Canelo would be meeting at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas September 13th. Seemed like it was all a done deal. We were wrong. On late Wednesday night, we're Thursday now. We were told that this fight has been called off. It is no longer scheduled for September. So something fell apart at the last second here. Now, this kind of seems like an emotional response. I think the general consensus is that Turki Al-Sheikh, the promoter of this fight, the head of Riyadh season, His Excellency, has called this fight off. Seems like it's an emotional response here to something. I think it's most likely this is something on the Canelo side. Canelo and Turki Al-Sheikh have not had a particularly great relationship. They had a beef all of 2024. Last month they were seen pictured together. We know we've been talking. They've been talking, Canelo and Crawford, with Turki Al-Sheikh, and we know that those negotiations have taken place the last month. Canelo has been pretty open-minded for this fight, but something seems to have fallen apart. Terence Crawford, great fighter, but he is not the A side of this fight. And he doesn't necessarily deserve to be going up all the way to 168, skipping 160 entirely to challenge Canelo Alvarez. So I don't know if there's a whole lot of demands he could be asking for here. Whereas for Canelo, he's the A side, he's the draw, he's tough to negotiate with historically, he is his own promoter. He's signed deals with PBC, Matchroom, Golden Boy. He's been around the block with different promotions, signing short contracts. He is an independent boxer. He doesn't really have one promoter. So Canelo's typically tough to negotiate with. And I imagine that with the rumors of Canelo fighting Jake Paul in May, maybe Turki Al-Sheikh isn't a fan of Canelo kind of upstaging that September event. Like it or not, Canelo versus Jake Paul is a much bigger event than Canelo versus Terence Crawford. We just saw what Jake Paul and Mike Tyson did on Netflix. Those were insane numbers. That's probably the most watched boxing event in the last decade, right? It has to be besides Mayweather, Pacquiao. And that's where we're just at. Jake Paul is a celebrity, and celebrity boxing goes a long way. It was accessible. It was on Netflix. No one had to pay for it. Everyone already had Netflix accounts. So that's where we're at, where that's a bigger fight, and that's probably a fight where Canelo could make more money, and it would probably get more attention nationally than Crawford and Canelo, which is unfortunate because that's a much more interesting and compelling fight. Canelo Alvarez could knock out Jake Paul whenever he wants to. But apparently that's a fight that we could be getting in May now. And that just goes to show you how popular Jake Paul is and how much money he brings to the table. Because he's not a good boxer. He doesn't deserve to be in there with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, again, could kill him in 2 seconds. That's not a competitive fight, but it makes money. And that's what the business of boxing is. That's what Canelo does best, is he generates money. He is the face of the industry for a reason, and that's a massive fight. Canelo versus Jake Paul. It's not an interesting one, but it's a massive fight, and people would watch it. People want to see it because people want to see Jake Paul get knocked out. That's the reality. And it seems like we were at the 1 yard line here with Canelo and Crawford, and something fell apart at the last minute. I think it was very strange. This fight was announced already when wasn't happening until September. I think there is plenty of time to fix this issue here, whatever the issue may be, between Canelo and Turki. Maybe it's Crawford and Turki, but it seems like it would most likely be Canelo because that relationship hasn't been particularly great over the last year. And I think, whatever that reason may be, something that can be fixed because we have a lot of time between now and September. And we know Canelo's taking a fight in May. That is a guarantee that Canelo's taking a fight in May. Crawford, he fights once a year anyway. He's really in no rush. He was willing to fight in September, have the 13-month layoff heading into this fight. Was going to be a big deal for Terence Crawford. He kind of just fights once a year as is. But Canelo, every May and September, every Cinco de Mayo, every Mexican Independence Day weekend, it's a tradition. It's clockwork for him. He has to fight on those dates. And we knew he was taking a fight in May. Will it be Jake Paul? I don't know still. I still think there's a possibility that Canelo fights William Skull, the IBF champion, and attempts to become a two-time undisputed champion at super middleweight. That would be historic. That's legacy building. That's another champion for Canelo to get on his resume to edge himself closer to Mayweather's record of the most champions ever defeated. I think that's something that Canelo wants. I think that's something that he is seeking. I think William Skull is someone that Canelo can beat. I also can see that Turkey's probably not necessarily a fan of Canelo taking a fight in May. What if Canelo loses and he doesn't get the fight that he wants in September? Or that fight's now less interesting because Canelo's coming off of a loss. This happened with Deontay Wilder losing to Zhang or Joseph Parker and really just not getting that AJ fight that was wanted for so long. And they could make it now. But, these fights, when these guys lose, they lose momentum. And I think the risk of Canelo losing in May could be an issue here. But Canelo Alvarez, so far this year, has been attached to fight William Skull, Terence Crawford, and Jake Paul. And whatever he does next in 2025 is going to gather a lot of attention. He's still the face of the industry. There's going to be a lot of criticism if he doesn't fight Terence Crawford in September, I think. People think that he's ducking David Benavidez. People want to see that Benavidez fight. Boxing purists want to see Canelo versus Benavidez. That's the fight for Canelo. It would have to take place at 175 pounds. Canelo's options at 175 pounds are much greater than 168 pounds at this point. Everyone's at 175. David Morrell, Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol. The rematch there would be huge. I know Canelo wants that fight. He needs that fight. People think that, Canelo's kind of just checked out at this point, maybe. That was something that Showbiz the Entertainer talked about on his YouTube page, that, he doesn't really want to try 100% anymore. He's kind of on cruise control. He looked like he was on cruise control against Jaime Munguia and Edgar Berlanga. He could have stopped those guys at any point. The Canelo of old stops those guys. The Canelo of old stops Jermell Charlo. But Canelo Alvarez is still the face of this industry. And no matter what he does, all eyes are on what he does next year. And it's very important for his legacy and his reputation of what he does next. If it's Jake Paul in May, people are going to lose their minds. And you can't blame Canelo for taking the most amount of money possible for the easiest opponent possible. This is something that Floyd Mayweather popularized, something that boxing fans hate. But you can't blame a guy for doing that because boxing is a dangerous sport. And he's going to make the most amount of money and put himself in the least amount of danger. It makes the most sense. We would all do it if we were Canelo. We don't want him to do it, but we would all do it if we were in his shoes. The Canelo Crawford fight, I don't think is going anywhere. I know it's off right now. I know that Canelo and Turkey Al-Sheikh don't have the best relationship. And maybe there was another setback here. But I didn't think that fight was going to happen a year ago when Turkey said that he doesn't want to make that fight anymore. He doesn't want to see it anymore. He no longer cares. But look where we are now. We almost had that fight. It was on the 1 yard line. We were so close to getting that fight finalized. And when they go back to negotiating, they're going to be back on that 1 yard line. And they just have to fix whatever this little issue is here. It's probably blown out of proportion. And it's weird that the Ring magazine that's owned by Turkey Al-Sheikh reported that this fight was done and reported that it was called off within 2 days. That's very strange to me. And it probably shouldn't have been reported in the first place that it was done, especially if something of this magnitude, if it wasn't in fact done. It wasn't a done deal. I think another issue here could be Turkey Al-Sheikh, Canelo Alvarez. We're going to sign a 3-fight deal. Turkey Al-Sheikh likes to kind of have it known if someone wins who their next opponent's going to be. We know Benavidez' next fight's going to be Bivol or Beterbiev. We know what's next for these guys following this fight already. I can see Turkey probably wanting to say, Canelo, if you beat Crawford at 168, I want you to move up to 175 and fight David Benavidez. And Canelo going, I don't want to give that guy money. I don't like that guy. Canelo is an interesting guy. If he doesn't like someone, he doesn't want them to promote a cent off his name. He doesn't think they deserve a cent from his name. I think this probably comes from his pretty nasty relationship with his former promoter and mentor, Oscar De La Hoya. Canelo doesn't like David Benavidez one bit. He doesn't want David Benavidez to make a cent off of everything that Canelo has built so far. He doesn't want to share the ring with him because Canelo's still the A side. Benavidez would make the most money he ever would in his career. He'd have the best opportunity that he's ever had in his career, the most exposure he'd ever have in his career. And Canelo would give that to him, and he doesn't want to because he doesn't like him. But it's interesting that Canelo thinks that way because I don't think that many people in boxing think that way. What Canelo Alvarez does next in 2025, what the year holds for him, who his opponent in May is, who his opponent in September will be, something that we thought we knew, and now we don't know for sure. Is Jake Paul in May? Is Terence Crawford in September? Is William Skull in May? And is Terence Crawford in September? I think that's the more interesting fight. Maybe there's an issue that Jake Paul and Canelo, something that Canelo wants, but Turkey wants him to fight William Skull and to have it be Crawford Canelo, have it be for the undisputed and give Crawford the opportunity to fight for undisputed in a third weight class. That would make him top 5 to 10 boxer of all time if he can accomplish that. And maybe Canelo goes, I want to fight who I want to fight in May. Jake Paul makes me way more money than William Skull. I mean, there's some disagreements there. I think this is a minor disagreement if we were on the 1-yard line for this fight to happen. But let me know what you think in the comments of why Jake Paul and Canelo might happen in May. Why do you think that Terence Crawford and Canelo fell apart? Do you think we're still going to get Terence Crawford and Canelo? Because I think we still get it in September. I think this was way too far out for an announcement of this fight. If you recall, this fight was almost announced a week or two ago, and Turkey said, no, not yet, not yet. And, it was revealed that they were still talking, but he didn't say it was finalized, and we never heard it from Turkey, even though we heard it from the Ring magazine, which is really weird. Because you'd think the Ring magazine would be the most reliable source of this information because it's owned by Turkey Al-Sheikh. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's not from Turkey and it's from other people at the Ring magazine reporting this. That's something that needs to be fixed. The Ring magazine, brand new ownership with Turkey Al-Sheikh. That's something that he should learn from right there. It needs to be more reliable. But we'll see how things play out here in the coming months. I want to see Canelo fight William Skull and Terence Crawford. We'll see what happens next. Thank you again for watching.